Card scrapers are one of the most useful tools in woodworking. In fact, I keep one in my apron at all times. I think that people have a tendency to get frustrated with sharpening, but when you get a really good hook on a card scraper, the results speak for themselves, and you'll never go back to not having one with you at all times. Now, I know Veritas makes a like $60 honing guide, but I've figured out a way to help you with all aspects of this with a simple vise. I have a link down in the pinned comment description for free hardware as well as free plans. And when you combine it with just a little bit of scrap wood from your shop, you can create something that will give you results that William Walker can only dream of. So let's head over to the table saw and get started on the build. Going off the dimensions, which like I said are free over on my website, we're gonna dimension this. I've got a piece of 3/4 inch cherry. We're gonna dimension it down to 7 3/4 by 2 inches. We're then going to go to the drill press and drill our holes. Now, remember that you don't need to countersink your hole unless you want to countersink your carriage bolt, which I recommend because that allows you to lay it flat on one side if you so choose. So let's get these dimensioned, get some holes in them, and then we're gonna come back to the table saw and talk about those angles we're gonna put in to help us with our sharpening guide. All right, so now we're gonna cut in our sharpening guide. These are gonna be, I choose 5 degrees, but you could do anywhere up to 15 degrees. This is what's gonna help us with our burnisher keep the right angle. And so I've colored it in here what we're gonna cut off. We're gonna cut off 5 degrees of here and 5 degrees off of the top. It's gonna be about half of it because you wanna keep a flat area. That's gonna be your guide for the file. And so we're gonna cut just a kerf in here with our saw blade. That's just gonna be an 1/8 inch wide, an 1/8 inch deep. And that's gonna allow us to essentially put our card scraper just about flush with the surface and allow us to file 90 degrees. And then these 5-degree guides are gonna allow us to use our burnisher at 5 degrees on both sides of the card scraper. So I'm gonna cut the kerf first, and then I'm gonna set my blade to 5 degrees. You don't wanna change that angle because you want it to be about the same, not about, exactly the same on each side. So we're gonna keep that angle, and then we're gonna take off a little shaving here and a little shaving here. You know, you don't have to go too deep. Obviously, the deeper you go, the more you're going to kind of cut away the area where your carriage bolt is and take away from the area where your wing nut presses against. So you kind of wanna go about halfway, maybe a little bit higher than half when you're doing this. So just creep up on that measurement, and then it should be the same on both sides. So once you get it dialed in on one side, you can just flip your blade around and do the other. All right, so last thing we need to do is we're gonna take our hand plane, and just to make sure you didn't screw up with your tape at all, I'm gonna just hit this once just to clean it up, and then I'm gonna hit these angles I just cut once just to smooth them out because you do not wanna sand this. I'm also gonna make sure I do the bottom because we're gonna measure off that later, and that will just ensure that everything's straight and flat compared to the holes. So take your lightest pass with that, and then we're gonna go ahead and assemble this, and I'm gonna show you how to use it. Okay, so now it's time to assemble, and I was gonna carry kits of hardware for this, but then I just realized with shipping it wasn't worth it for me to do it, but I talked to Tay Tools, and they said they will give you free hardware. So they'll give you all the hardware for this if you order a card scraper or a burnisher. I'll leave the link down below, but all you need to do is add the hardware to your cart, and it will automatically give it to you for free. So that was pretty cool, and that was nice of Mike to do for you guys. So if you want, you can get real fancy. I ordered some random other stuff from McMastercard just to see what it would look like. like these carriage bolt washers, but really all you need is 2 carriage bolts, 2 washers, and 2 wing nuts. Again, Mike Taylor will give those away free with a burnisher or a card scraper. So all you need to do to put these together, and make sure you have your kerf and your angles orientated correctly. I know that's not the right way to say that. And you can just pop those in. I suggest doing one at a time so you don't get yourself all wonkied up. And then same thing over here. And we're going to add a washer to our wing nut side. And I'm going to obviously trim these carriage bolts, and the ones that come from Tay-Tools I think are much shorter. You don't want to tighten these all the way. Before you tighten them, you probably want to give those carriage bolts a whack to get them seated in the wood. You can just do that in your vise. So something like that, and just take a piece of scrap wood, give those a whack. Oh, come on, Jonathan. I know we don't hide our mistakes here, but I certainly wish I could hide my mistake on that one. That was dumb. In fact, I'm not going to do that again. Let's use a smaller piece of wood. Says use a smaller piece of wood and proceeds to not. Hold on. There we go. That's thinking, Katz-Moses. Use a piece of wood smaller than the hole, you big dummy. There we go. That's seated. There we go. And that is a card scraper sharpening vise. Now let me show you how to use it. All right, so let me show you the features of this, because it basically makes card scraper sharpening foolproof. It's absolutely incredible what you can do with this thing. Now, what you need here is obviously a burnisher, which is a piece of hard round steel, gentlemen, that is harder than your card scraper. You can buy these, or I've heard you can use like a super old screwdriver or something, but a good burnisher works. You're going to want a fine sharpening stone. I recommend maybe not using sandpaper or water stones if you can avoid it, because when you sharpen the top, you have a tendency to, you could dig deep gouges or rip your sandpaper if you're using that scary sharp system that I have linked right here in the corner. And then of course you're going to need a file. So what you need to do to start is you need to file off the sides, and we're going to do this in steps because we have the vise here to help us. So I'm just going to take my file and just give it a quick, just a very quick, and if you want a full detailed sharpening method, I have another video linked up here in the corner that will walk you through this whole process. Just give it a quick little rub down there, gentlemen, and then we're going to hit it on our vise. A little oil can help here, but you can just give it a quick. You just want it to be smooth on the sides, and now we're going to do the top. And this is where the vise comes into play. So you're going to take your vise, and the top is obviously where you put the angles. And you take your card scraper, stick it in there, and now this is super cool. I just take a piece of paper, and you don't want to put it under the card scraper. You want to just put it to the side. Make sure that you're on the flat part. Then you're just going to tighten your vise. And what that does is it makes your card scraper just proud of the surface. Now you can take your exposed card scraper and very easily stick it in your vise. And then once it's in your vise now, because you have this flat area here, and what's great about this recess we cut is we technically have an 1/8 inch that we can take this down. So this is going to keep you from getting out of square when you sharpen, and technically you're not really hitting the sides of this. I mean, it may slowly over time wear it off, but you could always hit it with a hand plane to freshen it up. But you're just going to give it a quick little rub down here, gentlemen, and then we are going to take our sharpening stone, and you can take it out of your vise like this, or you could take your sharpening stone to it, but you're just going to smooth out that top. And again, because of those flat areas, you're not going to get out of square. And now we have 4 smooth sides, so it's time to roll a curl. And that is what cuts your shavings when you're doing your card scraper. Now the first part of that curl that you roll, and I'll draw a picture for you. So this is our card scraper now, it's nice and smooth. Now we are going to want to draw out the metal like this. So we're going to draw these out, and then when we do our next part, we're going to curl those over into a microscopic hook, which you won't be able to see, but you'll be able to easily feel with your fingernails. You can hear I already sharpened this side. Your fingernails will catch on there. So this is another really cool feature of this vise. Now watch this. So we take it out of our vise here, and you want to put your wing nuts, you can put them in your vise or facing down, but this is why we sunk our carriage bolts into it, because we needed them not to interfere with our vise. So we have our bolts in there, our carriage bolts in there, and it's just sitting there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our burnisher on the flat. Now we know this is 90. We're gonna just take our card scraper and just slide it up till it makes contact. And we're gonna hold that there, and then you just take the tip of your burnisher, and you wanna use about the same pressure it takes to press a crosswalk or an elevator button. You just do 90 here, and check it, make sure it's hitting. And then you just take the tip, and you wanna do it about 10 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Flip it over, same thing, bring it right up to your burnisher. Okay, just remember when you're doing this, it's important to keep it on that flat part, and you have this nice flat guide here to help you. And now that angle doesn't really matter because we're about to fold that over. And here's where the vise gets even cooler. This is the critical step. So this is where it gets important. Now we're gonna put that rolled over edge in our vise here, and we are going to place our burnisher on the 5-degree part and bring our card scraper up to it. Now this is really easy to just start at the end. And what I did, I have already measured this. It was about just a little over 3/8 for me. But what I did was I just went to my end here. I put my burnisher on the 5-degree and pulled it up and then just held it there. And then I measured how far that was. Now what I can do is just take my card scraper out the bottom here and just basically slide my square like this, so it's just sticking out the exact same amount out the top. What's great about this vise, you can pinch to hold it while you tighten. And then we tighten that, and we put it back in our vise here, and now we have a perfect guide. If you can see from the side here now, I can hold that perfectly on that 5-degree angle, and you can find it, you can feel where it locks into place. You can feel that spot. So what you do, you put it on your 5-degree angle, and then same thing. You do not want to be crushing this, guys. Very light pressure, 10 times. Same thing, other side. All right, let's see how we did. Quick little tip too, when you sharpen a new edge on a card scraper, I like to draw a Sharpie arrow. That way I can see what are the fresh sides. And then sort of the Sharpie wears off sort of parallel to the amount of time when it needs to be sharpened again. I don't know if that's an exact science, but it's something I've always done. Let's see how we did. Oh my goodness, look at that. That is all one curl. And if you're getting dust, you need to redo it. You probably put way too much pressure when you were using the burnisher, but look at that. Getting perfect, legitimate curls. I guarantee you William Walker couldn't even come close to that. That is a real hand plane looking curl with a card scraper. Card scrapers are amazing. They're incredible, especially for like small areas or little dings. You can quickly just take it out. You saw me use it on that mallet for Vlad on all those bevels. If I had sanded that, it would have rounded all those really crisp, sharp bevels. So I just used a card scraper with one hand and just barely did it, and I got a perfect smooth finish. You want to do it at about a 10 to 30 degree angle, and you don't want to press too hard because this is really going to heat up and it can weaken your metal and burn your thumb. So just nice and easy, creating perfect curls, just like that. And man, guys, this thing is a winner. I love this. Super cool. And it's basically free. If you want to get a card scraper or a burnisher from the link down below, you get free hardware. Just remember, you do need to add the hardware to your cart, but it'll be taken off your bill. And then just some scrap wood. I have free plans over on my website. There'll be dimensions, like the paper you saw me holding earlier. But guys, build this. It really helps. And you saw I got amazing results with that. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to support the channel, head over to the Katz-Moses store, pick up a dovetail jig, a stop block, one of the new Katz-Moses aprons. Stay safe in the shop and have a wonderful day.